Hello. So, what am I doing today? I'm finishing the windows on the front. So I'm getting it framed in, and then had to take a strap to pull it this way to square it up, put the sheeting on that holds it in place. And then I did the same thing on this window. This needed just a slight correction. And then that one's fine over there. Didn't have any problems that way. I went ahead and got my rafters up here put in, and then I'm working on the rafters down the side. This is a little bit tricky. I'm not 100% sure how I want to do this yet. So basically what I did is I took my level, placed it across several of those, and then drew a line, and then basically lined it up, the first one up that way. Once that was lined up, I could measure from the floor up, which is 50 inches to there, 44¼ to there. And all I have to do then is line it up on the top board. That one looks off, but it's not. So came down, put a couple in, and then just to be safe, I went ahead and ran a string line all the way across. I don't like string lines, especially over long distances. They always sag on you, and they're really difficult to get perfectly straight. So this is what I've got. I don't really like this one. This one shows you, 0 is like way over here on the side, and it shows you if you're an 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch off as the bubble moves that way. I don't particularly like that, but it's the one that I have. So string line's pretty easy. Just hook it onto your string. Let it hang there. You can see I'm level. So, but that is relative to how much this string goes to. We have to have it really tight. This is really stinking tight right now. In fact, I almost broke it down that and I was pulling it so tight. But even still, no matter how tight you pull it, it's always going to have a little bit of a sag to it. So the next method I'm using to check to make sure that they're lined up nice is just by simply looking down the row and eyeballing them to see if they're straight or not. As you can see, that is pretty darn close. The second one looks like maybe a little bit low. The next thing I'm going to do, that I'm trying to figure out, is, of course, I'm going to have this big soffit built out here. Trying to figure out how I'm supposed to do this and keep my air seal the way I want it to be. Because if these hang out over the side and I have a wall that comes up, then how am I supposed to air seal around every single one? The next option would be to build a little wall off the edge that comes up and then cut this off, and then it'd be really easy to seal up at that point. The problem with doing that, though, is that then I have to build this soffit hanging out there 100% on its own. And if it's a little 18-inch soffit like what's going to be on these ends, hang out there, it's not a big deal. But I've got an extra 2 feet here, so that's a 42-inch soffit. And then over in this area where the entrance is and this upper floor stops, add another 2 feet onto that, so the soffit's going to go from here clear out to there. That's the pretty long distance, so I'll probably run a header from here over just to help support that one. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this. One thought I had was just to I guess I could run the wall up and I could liquid seal around everything. That'd probably be my best and my easiest. It'd be my easiest thing to do. Probably just end up doing that. Because when I have these rafters sticking out like that, it gives me some good support to tie onto. I'm still going to build my wall inside here because that's going to support the weight of the soffit going to push down. Then when I run my boards out, they can attach onto the end of that rafter as well, and that will keep it from sagging. So that's my plan. I think that's really the best option I've got, is to do that. So I think today what I'd like to do, now that I've got these up, is I'll put the two Put that one in. I'll go ahead and put this one in and put the one in on that side. And I'd like to build that wall and build this wall still. I don't know if I can get to that today or not. It's already 5 o'clock. Had some things to do this morning. Didn't get out here until later. Other issues, concerns. We got this roof in, and I went with 1-inch foam first, and then I put my sheeting on top of it. The next morning we came out and we noticed that there were some drips right here, and I found 3 other drips on this side that the roof was on. I think 1 was right here and 2 were down in the living room area. You could see where the crack, this one was dripping right through that crack right there, which means somewhere there and up was getting water, and we did have a rain, but I had wrapped up, I don't know if you can see it or not. You can see that black flashing tape wrapped around the top. I did that because I knew that that section happened to be sticking out over, and I didn't want any water to get in there. I got up on the roof and I couldn't see where it was getting in at. All I can think of is condensation, so I started doing some research, and turns out you're not supposed to put insulation down first and then your sheeting. One reason is because of the shear strength of your roof. So one is because of the shear strength of your roof, and not being able to withstand forces pushing it this way, which if you remember from an earlier video was the same reason why I did not put foam directly against my studs and then put my sheeting on the outside. You can see I went straight to the sheeting. I originally wanted to do this over the whole house, put the insulation and then put my sheeting on. I was convinced that that was the best way to do it because of the structural integrity. Come to find out later that down in Texas they're building houses out of cardboard, and all they're doing is putting a lead in the side, or putting sheets in the corners, things like that. Plywood OSB in the corners to shore the house up. Now I remember back in the 90s, and we did the exact same thing. We did fiberboard. So in the corners we would have OSB sheeting, and then we would switch to like a black fiberboard for the rest of the house. And so those corners would be where your strength was at. It would square the house up, give it some strength in the corners so the house wouldn't sway back and forth in the wind. And then we also did lead-ins with those metal braces, which is exactly what I used here. See if I can find one. So I put these metal Simpson T-straps in also. So really, I don't even know if I needed to do all that I did. I probably could have just got away with what I was already doing. Going ahead and doing the insulation and then the sheeting probably would have been fine because I have these braces in there. But I was concerned about the height of some of the walls. In the garage area, it's like 14, 15-foot walls in there. So, and then in here, I suppose, with the tub being here, I probably could have put plywood up on both of these sides and pushed this wall out. But then insulating would have been tough, so there's no real good way to get around that. So the plan now is to go on the outside, go ahead and put my sheeting on the outside. You can see the top, I've already got that sealed to the roof, and then I'll build my soffit out there and run my insulation. I'll take it back. I gotta put the insulation on first and then run my soffit down, otherwise I'm defeating the whole purpose, because then I would have a big gap that's uninsulated. So I'm doing some research on what I did with the roof to figure out if I am having a condensation issue. I don't think my structural integrity is going to be a problem. If you remember, I put in all these braces there and there, and there's one at the top. Where's the other one at? There's that one over there. And squared a lot of things up that way. Plus I'm using 3 rib nails or shank nails. which I talked about in the previous video. I mean, they really hold in tight, especially when the longer they've been in the wood, the longer they grab, because the wood will swell around them and really harden them in there. Sometimes even now I go to pull a nail out and I just can't get the dang thing out there. I have to break it off. So those hold really good. But I don't know. We're going to see. My plan was to do foam, spray foam, and then some type of bad insulation underneath that. I'm just doing research now to try and figure out. I even joined another YouTuber's network to try and figure out, to ask him some questions, because he's got a lot of great videos. That's Matt Reisinger with the Build Show. He has a lot of good stuff, a lot of helpful videos to watch. But I've got some builder friends I've talked to also. They all think I'm nuts for doing this on my own, but they've offered to help. I'm like, oh, fine, I'll take care of it. I'll figure it out. Yeah, it's been fun, aggravating and fun. For example, one of my aggravators, these are now structural screws that I have out here. But originally what I had were some screws that I thought were exterior screws. And I put them in and then realized after rain that they were not, because they were rusting out already. So these are treated wood here. And I had put screws in that was probably not rated for treat. I thought they were, but clearly they were not. Your screws shouldn't be rusting on you. So I went ahead and switched those out today as well. So, we all make mistakes. Just glad I caught that one. Otherwise, I told my wife, yeah, 5 years down the road, the deck may blow off, but it probably would have been fine. But anyways, best to fix those things now. Changes. Those windows are now all going to be picture windows. We originally had a picture window here, a transom, casement, transom, casement. We're now just going to do all picture windows. We've walked down this hallway, this space into the living room area so many times and looked out those windows and said, I don't want any more obstructions. Let's just make them picture windows. So that's what it'll look like when it's done. If we were to do original plan with transoms and casements, we would have had basically a T in the window. It would have been a line across here and then a line down and the same thing over there. And that's just more in the way. Most people, we like opening our windows, but it's not going to be a big deal. This room's going to be awesome when it's done. So anyways, I want to get these rafters up so I can build my daughter's closet. She's been bugging me to get her closet done. So I want to get these rafters up here, run them down. I've got to build that wall down there so they have something to support, and then her closet gets built into that cavity. I wanted to do a video of kind of what the views are going to look like. We do have half of the roof on. We're working on getting the other half on. We do have a little bit of an issue with getting Tim singing. He's actually a really good singer. He's got headphones in right there. He's singing. Anyway, he just realized I was recording. Yeah, singing louder. Okay, anyway, we're having a little bit of trouble getting some supplies, so we're trying to work on the other side of the roof, but we, like I said, having trouble getting supplies, so we're doing what we can. Anyway, the views, I'm so excited. We're so excited. So this will be kind of living room area. I'm standing up in the loft area, and there is a small pond on the other side of those trees, so that will be expanded this way. Of course, the bees will actually still stay there, so we'll have a nice view of water. That's a big old pile of dirt with weeds on it, so that'll be taken out. The sheds, of course, over there will be moved, and then we've got the girls' bedrooms windows in. So those are going to be dormers. There's Valerie's room, and then over that wasn't okay. Sorry, it's going to be a terrible video. Anyway, and there's Sydney's window. The turning around. Tell us a country song. This is going into our bedroom, and we'll have the sliding glass door there. And over here is going to be the entrance to the bathroom. And I'll just stand there looking at that view, because that's going to be so pretty, especially in the winter. If we have snow, we actually get a lot more ice here than we do snow, but that's just, can you imagine waking up in the morning and coming in to the bathroom and seeing snow
and I think it's going to be so exciting. So anyway, enough noises in the background. I tried. It is what it is.
So yeah, I got some answers, resolution to my problem with the insulation. Turns out it's not really a problem. So in the research that I've done, to recap, the difficulty I was having, the issue I was having was with not only strength, shear strength in my roof structure, which is not an issue because everything's tied together. And then my sheathing is nailed in over 1.5 inches through. So anyways, no issues there. The bigger concern was with the condensation between the insulation and the sheathing. Kind of what I thought ended up being what my research found. I also asked some experts who said basically the same thing, that as long as it's sealed up, it's not a big deal. If air can't reach it, then it's not going to have any condensation issues. So we're going to go with closed cell foam and seal everything up so no air will get through. Of course, I didn't tape my seams on the outside. I don't really know if that would work. I mean, if air is hitting the tape and the tape is sitting in next to the sheeting, I would think that it would still have condensation issues. But using the closed cell foam should cover it up. So anyways, today I used up the rest of my zip tape a little bit ago on a window. I put in an order for some more supplies, but going to work on my roof here. I've only got a couple 2x6s left long enough to work on this. I'll go ahead and run what I have down, and then I may actually start sheeting either on that side or the other side and start getting that going. We're not supposed to have any rain or anything, so I'm not overly worried about that. And then either this evening, or today's Friday, either this evening or by Monday, I'll have my next shipment of wood in, and then we will knock out the sheeting on the rest of this, because by then all I'll have to do is this area below the window. Of course, I can't go at the height that would cut my window off here, so I'm going down low, 6 inches below the window, doing a 6/12 pitch out to the end of the rafters, and then there'll be actually the 6/12 here goes all the way out to the end of the soffit, 100%. So, and they'll be on those 3 windows. So we've got 6/12, 12/12, and then a 6/12 overhang down at the bottom. And the reason why I'm bumping this out so far is that we want to have our guttering running from this side all the way down to the end and into the water barrels, and the same thing on the other side, so that we create we collect all the water we possibly can. And I'll tell you, those water barrels are going to be overflowing many times, I'm sure. So in that case, when it overflows, I'm walking on top of where the water barrels are. When it overflows, then I'll have a drain to come out, and it will probably daylight over there somewhere. So that will keep that issue taken care of. I'll probably use, that'll be a pretty good sized pipe when that overflows, because there'll be a lot of water going in there at once. I have to make sure I size that properly. I'm kind of concerned in a huge downpour. As the water hits on this side, it'll be fine, but as it goes down and collects the other water, it's going to fill that guttering up to the point where it may not be able to handle it. If that's the case, I may need to actually redirect and only collect half the roof. So typically what you do is you'd bow it in the middle. So I'd have half running this way and half running that way towards the downspouts. I'm not necessarily opposed to that either, as long as we have enough water to work the system. But that'll be determined later. Getting to the point where I need to order windows, since we'll be have the roof on fully here not too long from now. I know we can get windows in, and I just got to build the soffits and we can get the roofers out. Leaning towards doing a metal roof with a rain screen behind it, just to keep out any potential issues with leaks. So, of course, with this, you have an issue where if you do get a roof leak through a shingle, it would leak into behind the rigid insulation. It would most likely stay there. If you spray this with foam, it would definitely stay there. and then would just rot your sheeting out. And you would never know it because the leak would never actually get to the inside. Most people realize they have a roof leak when they start seeing spots on their ceiling and things like that. The way we're doing this and the way a lot of construction is now, you would never see spots on your ceiling. It would just rot your roof out. So to get around that, on top of the sheeting, I'm going to do a rain screen. So rain screen is just basically a piece of 1x material nailed to your roof, and then your roof covering sits on top of that. So if I go with a metal roof, that would leave me, 3/4 inch gap or so in there. So I was avoiding those metal roofs because the screw grommets, after 5-8 years, get sun damage, they blister and they fall apart, and then you start getting roof leaks. But this way, if there is a leak, it will go into that gap, that 3/4 inch gap in between the zip sheeting and the roof itself, and I'll probably put some sort of roofing membrane down as well. But then it will have a chance to evaporate. In between those two surfaces, there'll be plenty of airflow between the two. It would have to be a pretty good sized leak to get all the way through to the inside to rot out anything. So that's my plan on that. I'm probably got to switch to a metal roof now. And I could do a metal roof myself, which is tempting. I don't know yet. Let me think about that one a little while longer. We're getting middle of August right now, and it's going to start cooling off middle of next month, and then before you know it, it'll be fall and it'll be winter, and I need to get this pretty much all enclosed in the next 2 months. Windows in, doors in, roof on, be plumbing and wiring, and so we can do drywall and everything, get HVAC systems and all that fun stuff. So it's getting there.